Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my 12 Authors of Christmas. I have with me the beautiful Natalie Jeanty. Well, Jeanty, but we're American, so it's
Right.
Jeanty. That's
That's
that's what we. I would love to say she's a friend of a friend of a friend, but really, her husband is one of my client besties turned real life bestie. Like I literally talk to him every single day. Um, he is a poet. He does poetry and prose, but we ain't here to talk about him. We are talking about Natalie and her first book. So before we get into these questions, Natalie, tell the people a little bit about yourself.
well. I'm Natalie Jeanty, and I'm a very caring, loving, very goofy, telehouse person. I love to read. I love poetry. I love adventure. And I'm also a mother. I'm also mother of three children and a wife. I almost forgot how many kids I had.
Well, I mean, once you hit two, the rest of them is just like whatever. Just throw them in the bag.
Right. ah, yeah. I just and I'm at a point in my life. I've just been doing past few years, just doing a lot of inner work and a lot of healing, and that's really the place where this book was birthed out of. Just the aftermath of all that healing and inner work. So I'm really excited about. I got it right here. Finding you.
So I don't remember at what point he told me you were working on a book,
Yeah.
but it's been a little minute. So how long did it take you from, hey, I want to write a book to, oh my gosh, my book is live? How long was that process?
And it's been, I honestly, it's been on and off, maybe 5 years, maybe five.
Okay.
'Cause we've been married for 7, and I don't think I was trying to write a, yeah, I want to say maybe about 5 years. And so it's been, I've started 3 different types of books.
Let's talk about that. Because one of the most widely asked questions I get is, I don't know where to start. I have so many book ideas. So, what were the three? You don't have to give us the whole idea, but what were the three different types of books? The different, if they were all in the same genre, and then how did you narrow it down?
So I know I wanted to give I wanted to write a poetry book. So all 3 of them were poetry books. But the first one was based off of just some like childhood experiences, wanting to write from like, abuse and, sexual abuse and all as a child. So I wanted to talk about that because I felt like that's kind of not really talked about. And
Hmm.
just so you could actually hear from a survivor how they actually feel, because there's so many people that haven't experienced that, like to prejudge people who have been through that and talk about how they should feel. And
Hmm.
and yeah. So I started that book, but I felt like the place where I was at, I wasn't there yet. Because me, for me, writing, for this is my opinion, writing a book, I think it should also be good for me too. It can't,
Hmm.
here and try to help other people if
Right.
writing is not applying to myself.
Right. I
Like that's baloney to me. So
agree. And it's interesting you say that because I had a very transparent. Well, Alex is one of my safe spaces. So our conversations, I can be, open and honest with him. And I had a real transparent conversation about him pushing me to write the book. I'm sure he's mentioned it to you. I'm not going to say the word, but me writing this book. And I'm like, yeah, but Alex, that's why people commit suicide, because they do these things for people and they haven't accepted it themselves, or they're not in a place to talk about it yet. And I don't want to be out here telling these other women how to navigate their life, and I'm sitting over here crying in a corner every night. I'm just not ready. And when
yeah,
I told it, explained it that way, he said, okay, you know what, Carla, I understand. I'm going to back off.
yeah.
And I applaud you for being genuine and honest with yourself and realizing you just weren't in a place to release that yet.
Mhm.
That takes a lot. So how did you finally just buckle down and say, you know what, girl, let's get this book done?
Yeah. So I've had this idea where I wanted to talk about because I had a conversation with a friend on Marco Polo, and I was just telling her like, she's a mom who just a mom of four, and she just had her newborn baby, and just going through postpartum and all the things, and trying. She didn't even get a chance to rest, and it's all the things. And I remember being in that place of just feeling like an octopus, and then I'm like, I don't even know what I like anymore. I don't even know who I am, like the woman part of me. And so I just can so relate to that because that's where I used to be like 3 years ago. And so that, and I said this
How
phrase,
many? 3?
well, four.
No, she's not.
She just turned 4. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Wow.
She
It's
ate
time
the
for
baby.
another one. Okay, just joking.
Yeah. So, but I told her, I said, but I said this phrase, I'm mothering from a healed place. That
Mm.
hit her tremendously. And that also hit me because I actually realized that, like, oh, like you have your bad days, don't get me wrong, nothing's perfect, but I used to have bad days every day. Like it was
Mhm.
in every, I'm saying. So just when I said mothering from a healed place, it just stuck with me. And I kind of chewed on that for a few days. And then I went out of town and I went to Shreveport. And a lot of my friends there know that I was working on a book. I have a few like author friends there. I have a mentor there. And like, so I sat down with my mentor. Hey, Miss Keisha, she's not on social media. In case I send this video. Hey, Miss Keisha, love you, girl. I had lunch with her, and she said, "So, what's going on with the book?" And I was like, I gave an excuse. She goes, "Well, I want you to text your husband right now. Of all the poems you have online, ask him how many more pages would you need, to kind of complete the book."
Mm.
I told her, I said, he's not going to text me back. I was like, that man is so busy. She goes, just text him anyways. So I did, and he didn't text back, but he read it. He was just busy. But then
Mhm.
like, you know what? Let me just start there. So I pulled off all of my poetry because that's how I've done spoken word prior to getting married. But then when I got married, Alex actually encouraged me to share it online. So I'm on Instagram and dang, I should have put Poet Expel
That's
Poet
okay. It'll be on the flyer.
Expel. But anyway, so I started sharing online, and then I gathered all my poetry and I'm like, okay. And then all of a sudden it just started flowing. It just
Mm.
flowing because I think I've I'm now at a place of the concept of mothering from a healed place. And I wanted to give a voice to mothers who suffer silently and don't want, and they feel guilty for sharing,
Mm.
hey, this is hard, or hey, I might be home all day but this is hard, like, and feel
Right.
not contributing financially or what have you, or you don't have your own thing, and like you just feel guilty for sharing stuff like that, but really you need help. And so I give a voice for those that are just struggling with that. And then in the middle of the book, it talks about that healing because a lot, yes, you need help, but there's some areas that you have to be accountable to
Right.
because we can say I need help, but then when someone wants to help, we don't want to accept the help
No,
because
no, no. I got it.
that's it right there. Oh
I
no,
can figure it out.
I got it. Like being a superwoman was like a badge of honor,
Right.
and we can do it all. Like I'm not trying to like minimize that, but like we don't have to be superwoman. Like it's okay to rest. Like my kids, for a while, this is how I knew I was doing the most. When I would sit down and just lay down on the couch and all day, my girl's like, "Mommy, are you okay? Are you okay?" And I'd be like, "Yes." Like, are you sick, mommy? And I have Harmony. You got temperature?
Because
Okay.
they weren't used to seeing
Oh,
you
so,
rest at all.
yeah. And I'm like, because I be doing the most. Because then it's like, and then I feel like if I know when I sit down, I'm not gonna have enough time to get stuff done around the house or
Mm-hmm.
all. And then I got kids and school and practice it, like So I just
It's
be all the time,
always something.
always, and I was
Always.
enjoying my kids, like actually being present and like actually playing, like that right there, I was like, okay, we need to normalize this.
Yeah. I remember at some point, I believe it was Chase's 8th grade year, so 21, 22, doing all the things. And he was in step, basketball, Model UN, drumline, robotics. He was house leader, which is like SGA president. And they keep track of our volunteer hours at the school. When he graduated, I had almost 300 hours. And right, right. And he's not my only child, but I had almost 300 hours. And so we had a party for him. And before we pulled out of the party, I had a carload full of kids. We were on our way to another party. I said, I'm going to put my phone on Do Not Disturb for 1 week. I just need some time to breathe and sleep. So I put it on Do Not Disturb for 1 week. When I turned my phone off of Do Not Disturb, Nat, it was August and he was starting his freshman year. I had gone the whole summer on D&D. And that's when I said, you know what, Carla? Something's got to give. You can't get everything done. The house is not always going to be clean. The clothes are not always going to be picked up off the floor. As the trash is always taken out. And do y'all have clean underwear, clean socks? Okay. Are you sick? No. You hungry? Everything else beyond that, it'll get done when it gets done. So I think as moms, we feel everything has to be so well put together and so well organized. And well, I'm a little bit older than you, but looking on our parents who grew up in a generation where the mom stayed at home and dads worked, so the houses were clean and dinner was cooked. But we are not that generation. Many of us are still working. And then the kids, you don't just walk up the street to the school. You got to catch a bus, or I have to drop you off. I have to pick you up. And then, oh, you want to play sports? Okay, well, karate's over here, dance is over here, football's over here, soccer's over here. When are the practices? When are the games? Oh, you need me to contribute? It just is like so encompassing. And when I was editing your book, there was a poem. I want to say the first few poems, I'm just editing. I'm just making, like, trying to find out who Nat is as a writer, what this should feel like, what it should sound like. And I got to one poem, I want to say between like 10 and 15, and I was like, oh shoot.
Yeah.
The tears, like, instant. I was like, because it took me back to having a baby and a 7 or 8-year-old, and I was sitting on the floor crying. It took me back to that time, and I instantly lost it.
Yeah.
It was so touching. I text Alex and I said, she's cooking with grease. Those weren't the words I used, but
I know, I know how you are.
he was like, oh, when you start cussing, I already know. I was like, oh my God. Now leave me alone. Let me finish reading.
He got a little jealous too. He goes, well, she didn't say all that in my book. I go,
So I commend you. It may have taken the time, but it needed to take the time to get you to a place where you are able to speak about it. So when you read back through, once you were finished writing, how did you feel because at that point there's separation. So you're reading as a reader, but also as the author. How did you feel reading your own words about that, like the pain and frustration and needing to be seen and needing to be heard and needing to be felt?
well, I will tell you, it felt like a relief, like a relief and a release. It's like I finally got it out, and I was super, super happy. And at the end, there were parts of me that teared up a little bit because it's like, oh my gosh, I'm really sick. Because there's some stuff that's like really deep in there.
Yeah.
Like with that I Forgive You poem. I'm just like, I cannot believe I'm getting old. Like, and
I was surprised you put that in there. I was this close to telling you to take it out.
I was too. Yeah.
This close, but I said no. She put it in here. She feels like it needs to be in here. Let's just move it around a little bit.
Yeah. No, that was a great idea. Yeah. And it was just, and then I felt when I got to the end, I was like, okay. And okay. I think I said everything that needed to be said. And I was trying really hard not to add more things. Because then after you read it as the author part of you, like, oh, I forgot to add this. So I did heed your advice.
That's a whole nother book, ma'am.
Right.
One of my other 12 authors, he did the same thing. But his edits, I sent him back a lot of edits. And he's like, oh, well, I think I want to. I said, if you add one more word, because when he sent it back to me, it was another 5,000 words. I said, if you add one more word, one, I'm charging you. Like, we're not doing this. Put it in another book. So
Right.
I'm excited to see where you go from here.
Yeah.
Not to rush you or anything, but do you have a goal in mind for book number 2?
I think it's gonna be somewhat of a part 2. I wouldn't say the same title, but it's gonna go to the next place. Like once you're starting to find yourself again, I'll
Mm-hmm.
write about that process of in the process of okay, you found you're at home with yourself. It ain't pretty. I think my poems, I'm like, there's a lot of renovations that need to be done. But you know, but I want to talk about that process. And I don't know if I want to name it Mothering from a Healed Place. I don't know. But I just want to talk about what it looks like and feels like of healing and mothering and just and not even mothering, but just being a woman again first. And then out of that flows out of being a wife and being a mother and just being yourself again. Like, it's just like I can even say like an elevated version of yourself again, And so I think I want to talk from that perspective.
Okay, I love it. I'm here for it. Well, guys, you heard it here from one of my 12 authors of Christmas, Natalie Jeanty. She has her first poetry book, Poetry and Prose. It is for moms. You don't have to be a new mom. You can be an old mama like me. But someone who's doing the juggling, feeling the need to find themselves, reconnect with who they are. I know you know someone who can use these words. Let them encourage them and be motivated. Buy a copy for you, buy a copy for a mom friend of yours, and then follow Natalie. Where can they find you, Nat?
They can find me on Instagram and Instagram and Facebook and Threads and TikTok at Poetic Spill.
Oh, all the things. Oh, look, and I forgot because you had just given me your name. So I see Alex's whatever post, and I was like, babe, who instantly went to the page. I was like, oh, okay, because baby, I was about to go ham in that conversation. What you not gonna do?
I was like, that's my dog. That's right.
We don't play about that one. What?
Right.
Well,
Right.
ain't no games.
Okay. Right.
All right. Thank you so much, Nat, for joining today. I really appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.